All right, excuse my tardiness this evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a regularly scheduled and called Greer City Council meeting, calling the meeting to December 12th, 2017. Having called the meeting to order, I'd like to ask you to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Jay Arrowwood, and then he will give an invocation for council. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us enjoy this beautiful day that you have created. As we come to the end of this calendar year, I thank you for all the blessings you've bestowed on this city, on this council. I thank you, Lord, that you have allowed this council to serve and serve faithfully. I thank you for the gift of your Son, Jesus. And I ask that you be with us now as we conduct the business for your city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Once again, we welcome and appreciate your presence with us this evening. Not a terribly long agenda tonight, so if you are here as part of your civic duty or making sure you've got this meeting covered, you picked the right one to be at, so congratulations. But of course, for those items of business that are on here, they're all important, and we will proceed in that regard. Ms. Duncan, do we have anybody to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
With that, then, we'll move to the minutes of the council meeting that we held on November the 28th. I'll entertain a motion that those minutes be received.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk this evening? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, this evening we have a special recognition. Corporal Scott Broom is with us this evening, and he is here as he gets to the point that he is celebrating his retirement from the city, and so we want to honor him as we reach that milestone in his career. I'd like to ask the administrator and Corporal Broom, if he would, join us here in the front. We're not going to swear you in or arrest you or anything. I was going to command you to walk backwards and then see if you could hold one foot up. Or we'll dispense with that this evening. How about that? Scott, we've got a certificate of appreciation which says congratulations upon your retirement from the city of Greer, presented in appreciation of 21 years of dedicated service to the city of Greer from July 11th, 1996 to December 31st, 2017. This recommendation of appreciation is given the 12th day of December here in Greer. Scott, we thank you for all that you have done for the department, and a career of 21 years. You've seen a lot in that department and growth over there, and we thank you for all that you've done for the city. We have a small gift of appreciation we'd like to give you as well, too, sir. Please join me in giving Scott a round of applause.
Corporal Broom, on behalf of Mayor and Council and all the members of Team Greer, we wanted to present you with this retirement clock. We present that to you as a small token of our appreciation for your dedication and your service to us and to our community. We wish you best in your retirement. We hope that we will see you soon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to say anything? Floor's yours. One last time.
Well, it's been a long time, and it just seems like it was a few years ago that I started a career that I didn't really want in law enforcement. I started at the end of the 1980s. I still carried a revolver as my sidearm. I got a gun and badge and was told to go out and protect the citizens and the members of the United States Air Force to the best of my ability. And from that point on, I've been in law enforcement since. Coming back to my hometown to police has been a blessing for the most part. Sometimes you think it's a curse because everybody that you went to school with and grew up with are all right here still. But I wouldn't trade any of it. I've thoroughly enjoyed being a patrolman and working the road for 21 years. Thank you.
With that, we'll move to a petitioner this evening. A petitioner is someone who would like to come before the council and make an issue known or bring information to council in regards to an item of interest. We don't always have a petitioner, but they are certainly welcome as long as they do that through the clerk, and she makes that time available. This evening we've got Kristen Osborne, who is with Bearded Brothers Tattoo Company, and Ms. Osborne would like to address council regarding the current zoning requirements for a tattoo business. Ms. Osborne, if you would like to, you can address council from the podium. And just as a matter of record, if you will state your name and address, we would like that for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Kristen Osborne. Would you like the business address?
That'd be fine.
Okay, the business address is 642 Leonard Road in Duncan, South Carolina. We are coming here tonight. I do body art as well as cosmetic and paramedical tattooing at Bearded Brothers. I'm joined by Kevin Upton, which is the owner of our studio. We wanted to propose an ordinance amendment to allow studios backed by physicians into commercial zones. We are interested in relocating to a C2 or C3 zoning class. We're currently in an industrial zone, and we are hoping to make ourselves a little bit more accessible to our clientele. We are the only studio in the upstate that currently has physician backing. I'm backed by Dr. Orsic and his associates at the Magnolia Plastic Surgery Group in Spartanburg. He refers his patients to me specifically for nipple and areola restorations and other sorts of paramedical tattooing. That was something that actually wasn't really offered in South Carolina, and I moved down here from Michigan to do so. They're medically necessary procedures, and it really helps a lot of people to be able to finish their reconstructive process. Our studio is a lot different, though, than many others. We definitely try to stay cutting edge with all of our health and safety protocols, and we stay a clean, professional, reputable environment. We're looking to relocate to Greer, preferably to one of the commercial zones. We haven't exactly decided on a building or a facility because we were hoping to be able to work with you and see where you would find it acceptable for us to move. But let me see. I apologize. But yeah, we really wanted to get your perspective on relocating to allow tattoo studios into commercial zones, namely studios that are backed by physicians. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you will, let's, typically with a petitioner, there may be some questions. We wouldn't really address concerns tonight, but we may have some questions, and if someone would like for council to discuss this in more detail, it would be added to a future agenda. But I do want to open the floor quickly for any questions that the council might have to help them better decide about how they might want to proceed in this regard. Go ahead.
What percentage of your business would you say is the medical cosmetics, the permanent cosmetics that you do?
For my business personally, I would say over probably 70% of the business is referred by the Magnolia Group.
How about for the whole studio? Is that percentage hold true, or is it a little bit less?
We have 4 artists there. I'm the only person that is performing the paramedical tattooing. However, the studio as a whole is backed by the physicians because they wouldn't want to send their patients to a place that they didn't feel appropriate. But I would definitely say about half and half. For the rest of our tattoo clientele, we primarily deal with consultation and appointment-based serious clients. All of the processes are those that are thought about. You know, we typically don't have a lot of people that are walking in off the streets to just get a tattoo really quick. You know, we definitely put a lot of time and thought into custom artwork for people and make sure that they're making educated decisions with what they are wanting to achieve.
Does your expertise require some type of special training or a degree?
Yes, sir. I actually trained to be a cosmetic technician in Chicago. I do have a background in fine art as well, and the paramedical tattooing falls under that cosmetic technician's license.
The synergy between you and the doctor, is that some type of a licensed thing? How do you hook up like that? Could any other tattoo business do that, or is there some type of procedure that you have to petition a doctor or vice versa to do that?
A little bit of both, really. We have Dr. Orsic and his PA, Sean Kirby, reached out to me after finding out and looking at my portfolio. They were actually in the position where they were sending people to Baltimore because they really didn't have very many options to send a lot of their patients to finish these procedures. Some doctors will do these types of procedures in the office. However, because they are different industries, Dr. Orsic was one that didn't feel comfortable enough or knowledgeable enough with the field of paramedical tattooing to continue to complete the procedures himself, which is why he wanted to find somebody that he could back in order to have that, I guess, work relationship, have somebody on their team. As far as gaining the doctor backing, that really isn't something that anybody can just do. For a doctor to want to put his name on your work and on your studio is something that really does take a lot of hard work and effort to make sure that the procedures are being done properly and safely. But I haven't really known many other tattoo studios in the state really that have that same type of backing.
So his backing, obviously it includes what you do, but does it cover the rest of the people that work? Like if there's a problem, this doctor will come in and somehow intervene?
It covers the paramedical tattooing. I'm actually working in the Magnolia Group's network for their patients. That's how the referral process is set up. However, he is backing the health and safety of Bearded Brothers as a whole, just because he feels that the studio is beyond standard.
So he has some standards that you have to meet for him to do that?
Absolutely. We definitely exceed all of the state requirements for health and safety. And one of my next personal endeavors actually is to move forward with DHEC in order to implement some new rules and regulations that will only further help keep this community safe.
Where are tattoo parlors at now? What's on there?
Industrial.
How would you classify your client, your non-medical tattooing clientele? I mean, as far as, are they 18 to 25-year-old, or are they 35 to 65 and middle income, that kind of thing? What?
I would say most of our tattoo clientele I would consider serious collectors. They're people that put a lot of time and thought into the pieces. They are people that come in for a consultation and have something custom drawn and really go back and forth with the artist to create an actual piece of artwork. We don't have, racks of flash to pick random designs off the walls for spur-of-the-moment people. The age group wise, I would say many of the people that we work with are, I would say, 30 and over.
What do you do about the spur of the moment people? If I came in and I decided I want to have a tattoo, what would you do about me?
If you just came into the shop, I would suggest that you schedule a consultation, and that's kind of how we're able.
And if I say I don't want to schedule a consultation because I might back out, I want to get the tattoo now.
Typically, that really wouldn't be too much of an
I mean, you
option.
ain't got to worry about it. That's hypothetical.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But we do primarily work all consultation based. We sit down with the client, get to know them, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and it's important, especially if someone is going to be putting a permanent mark on your body, you want to have that trust and understanding between the two people. You want to be able to trust your artist, and the only way that you're going to be able to gain that trust is to sit down and talk with them and get to know them. And most people that get tattooed have a little bit of a story, so they get to share their story. We get to use what they're giving us and telling us the thing that they want to get to design the piece for them. But very rarely do we have people that just come in for a spur of the moment. We'll typically tell them to schedule a consultation, and from there an appointment is scheduled. As far as age group goes, typically as far as the cosmetic and reconstructive tattoos for the doctor referrals, most of those women I would say are 45 to 50 all the way up to, I've got a lot of women in their 70s that come in and work with us, and that's part of the reason that we were wanting to relocate to an area where people would typically do their business, just because the industrial zone doesn't really accurately represent what we want to represent as a business. We are an established business. Kevin has had the shop since 2014, and it's been established with a good reputation, and that's part of the reason that when I moved down here to work with the Magnolia Group, I chose Bearded Brothers because they are a wonderful studio. But we definitely, we want to be able to showcase our business where everyone else does their business. Even though we are well established, the area that we are in currently is pretty much a truck yard. There's chain link fences and, semis and lots of trucks. And I feel like people would be able to enjoy the available amenities around us if we were in a commercial zone. A lot of women who come in, maybe want to go get some lunch afterwards, or, men and women want to go shopping, or, just be able to enjoy the town a little bit. And with where we're at currently, that's really not an option.
So you're currently, in addition to the paramedical tattooing, or I guess it may be the same, you're also doing the cosmetic tattooing, the eyebrows and eyelashes and eyeliner and all that?
Those are also referred by the doctor. The vast majority of my clients for those reasons come in from Dr. Orsick's office. They have either undergone chemotherapy and their eyebrows never grew back. They're women who are maybe older and shake your hands and they can't apply the eyeliner and the cosmetics like they used to. I do scar camouflage. I work with men and women with vitiligo. And it's definitely, the cosmetic and paramedical tattooing is at the end of the day, it's still a tattoo, but it is drastically different technique, material, industry-wise than traditional body art. But the two definitely marry together because they're both forms of tattooing. But the vast majority of those clients also come from Dr. Orsick's office.
Do you get a good bit of the cosmetic brows?
I do.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
I know that's pretty big. My actual sister actually had them done when she was going through cancer, and they tattooed the actual brows onto it. So I know it's a service that's needed in this area.
And it really makes a huge difference. It's a very, very rewarding industry because, from the nipple and areola restoration to giving someone who's undergone chemotherapy, beat cancer, giving them the ability to reclaim their bodies is pretty incredible.
Are all the pictures on your site the ones that you've done?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
You do bald heads?
I've been asked that.
Yeah, right. Do that ball head up pay for admission.
Thank you, Ms. Watford. We appreciate your information.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
All righty. Thank y'all.
Have you seen the advertisement on TV?
Well, with that then, let's move to the administrator's report quickly. How about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Only a couple of matters. One, we have certainly had the opportunity last week and appreciate several of you being able to join us for our employee appreciation breakfast. That is an annual event for us that we always enjoy. Record turnout, crowd this past Friday. It was a really, truly wonderful event for our employees. We've received very, very many positive remarks on that. I want to make sure you're aware of our holiday schedule as we're approaching those holidays coming up. Friday and Monday, December the 22nd and the 25th, we will be closed. And also Monday, January the 1st, our garbage pickup service on those Mondays will be delayed one day, and service of each of those days will be delayed one day. So both Christmas week and New Year's week, if you're on Monday, you'll be picked up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You know how that works. So that schedule will take place, and our community is very aware of that, but we are putting information out through our media sources and also through our social media outlets to make sure folks are aware of that. We are currently scheduling you for attendance at the Municipal Association's Hometown Legislative Action Day. Please note that it is there's a change of schedule. This year, that meeting takes place on Tuesday. It typically would be on a Wednesday. They've moved that to Tuesday. That will be on Tuesday, February the 6th. Ms. Duncan is currently scheduling accommodations and registration for that meeting. If you can please make sure she is aware of your attendance plans, we'll certainly get that taken care of for you. Also, you will note on your agenda this evening under old business, there are two items, ordinance number 27, 2017, and also ordinance number 32, 2017. Both of these are second reading on annexation ordinances. We do ask your consideration to hold those items over until after executive session. They are both relative to discussion that we will have on the Economic Development Project, Inland 85. There's an item on your agenda in executive session for discussion of that Economic Development Project. And again, these annexations are germane to that. So we would ask your consideration to hold over 27, 2017 and 32, 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, we'll move to appointments of boards and commissions, the first of which is the Board of Zoning Appeals. District 6, William Henry's term expires at the end of the year. Any action in that regard?
No, I am sorry to report that I do not have a replacement at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll move then to the Recreation Association Board of Trustees. Do we have information in that regard, District 1?
We do. I do have a nominee, but I have not been able to make contact and obtain all the information needed. So I guess District 1 is not going to be represented until January.
Thank you. District 3?
Yes, I want to make a nomination for Amanda Harper. She's actually very familiar with our recreation board. Her son her son plays on a couple of our program sports, and she has agreed to serve a term for us.
We consider that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second from Ms. Harper. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. District 5?
Mayor and council, if you'll look at the biographical sketches at your place there, we are indeed fortunate to have Pamela G. Taylor, whom I'm nominating to fill the Recreation Board position for District 5. She has an outstanding resume. She could do just about anything, I believe. And I would like to place her name in nomination tonight.
We'll consider that a nomination. Do I hear a second?
Second.
May I have a motion and a second? Any additional questions or comments in regards to Ms. Taylor's appointment? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, be mindful that on all of our appointments to boards and commissions, those terms before you expire the end of this year. In order not to handicap those groups that either have to meet or need to meet soon after the first of the year, if we could be prepared at one of our January meetings to rectify the last of these situations, we'd appreciate it. With that, then, we move to items of old business, both of which come with a recommendation from staff to hold over until we receive additional information in regards to second and final reading of ordinance 27-2017 and the second and final reading of ordinance number 32-2017. We will hold those over until following executive session, so we will move to items of new business. First of which is a bid approval in regards to financial software. We're seeking approval of the bid for financial software, which will be presented by Mr. David Seifert.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we are coming to request approval for the bid from Edmonds and Associates for replacement of our financial software. If you remember back during the budget process, we had this as one of our line items to be in our lease purchase program. Moving forward from that point into this year, we did review multiple companies and we held 3 on-site demonstrations, and we are recommending to move forward with this company, Edmonds and Associates. Included in your agenda package is an additional memo and another form of highlights and bullet points regarding our current software and the new software and showing those benefits of moving. Just to hit a highlight of a few of the benefits, the new software will increase our efficiency through automation of our financial processes and forms. It improves our reporting and exporting of our reports for analysis. It increases our efficiency of reporting and transparency, and it adds modules that we don't currently have that automates analytics and dashboards that we can then turn around and put out to the public through the website. The dashboard that we have now is a manual process. This is an automated process that improves that efficiency and getting the data out quicker and easier from staff. And then another highlight is it adds the ability and tracking for asset management and fleet management that we currently do not have today. Now, if you've hopefully had the opportunity, if not, you certainly have the opportunity to read through all of the highlights and and the detail that we have provided there. The original budgetary quote that Edmonds and Associates provided to us from the budget process about a year ago at this time was $145,000. That is the amount that we included in the lease purchase budget. Going through the demonstration and identifying the modules that we need have reduced that to $116,930. So that is the quote that is before you tonight. They were asking for approval. We do recommend moving forward, and it is fully funded in the lease purchase program.
Council has come on the recommendation of staff. Do I hear a motion to receive?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion or questions of Mr. Seifert or staff.
Was the problem that our current software was just too old, too limited?
I don't want to belabor the whole history, but they were purchased by a national company, and they have been, they were a local company and very responsive on customer service, took care of their customers. The national company does not have those same response times. Now granted, they are reportedly putting a lot of dollars into research and development, but our experience in the last 2.5, 3 years since they bought the company, so when they roll out something new, it breaks something that is old, and unfortunately the things that are breaking are things that we use every day. The customer response time when we're turning in requests, it may be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before we ever get that first phone call back. And then we have other issues that are now a year, year and a half, 2 years old that have never been resolved. So that's kind of the background with our current software. But more importantly, you know, the customer service is just very important. And we've been vetting this company for about a year. Through the process, their attention to detail in meeting with us and things that they did not have in their software a year ago that we've asked for are already in the software, about 75% of what we talked to them about. So they're very responsive and getting what their customers need into the software. And then they already have additional capability and functionality that we do not have today. So, you know, all of that combined, this looks to be a very positive move for us.
Who's our current provider?
It's the software is called Smart Fusion. It is a Harris product, and they're based out of Niagara Falls.
So the $15,000 maintenance fee, is that the yearly upkeep fee?
Yes, sir, and that's a relatively low maintenance fee.
And I'm sorry, the nearest office that's going to service us with this company is where?
They have offices in the northern part of Florida and then in New Jersey. But most of the support is handled remotely. Right. They have been on site 4 times doing the demonstrations, and they have committed to come here when necessary. But most of the support is handled remotely.
So all this will work on our existing hardware?
Either on our existing hardware, or we will move to a cloud model.
Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, we have another bid approval this evening. It's the land management software. Our city engineer, Steve Grant, will present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Back in March at the Building and Development Standards Departmental Review, we discussed the tremendous growth activity that the city's been experiencing, and I advised that we're starting to evaluate some project management software options to help increase our efficiency and productivity. Track It by Superion has an excellent product for land management services and functions that consist of basically permitting and inspections and plan review functions. They also have a business license module, an analytics module, and advanced GIS integration module that our evaluation team believe would provide high value for city functions in addition to the land management module. As stated in the agenda information, the cost for the software is $466,940. Funding is budgeted for and this software and funded through the lease purchase from the budgeted line item that was in the approved budget of $412,000. Plus, there's some previous fiscal year's funds already set aside for software and hardware purchases for solutions that are also being incorporated into this software. You have in your agenda packets a bulleted list of features and benefits of this software. We believe that will benefit the city. I hope you have a chance to read through all these. I do want to highlight a couple of the main ones, although I won't read all of them. Primarily, some benefits for customers and developers, contractors, and design professionals of online permitting, payment processing, and plan submittal will eliminate the need to go to City Hall to conduct business in many cases. This is especially beneficial for out-of-town owners, customers, and design professionals. They'll be able to log into the system and get status updates on their projects or permits anytime or anywhere without having to actually come to or call the city. It'll increase efficiency by allowing multiple departments such as finance, business licensing, building and development standards, and the fire marshal to use the same database to conduct business, plan reviews, and permitting. So to summarize where we are, we've been evaluating software packages for about 9 months. We believe we found the right product to help the city move further into the information age, utilize current technology, and provide tangible benefits to our customers. This project is budgeted for through the lease purchase program, and we just want to give you an update on where we are and make you aware we're ready to enter into a contract with Superior.
Mr. Grant, I know there was a bit of sticker shock when you read the price of the software. I know that we've been working for over a year to find a software that we could use and manage some of the things that you mentioned today. And I know personally we've had a number of contractors, engineers, builders, and others that have been urging us to move to a software system like this because some of our surrounding competition has this, and we needed to move in this direction fairly quickly. I know you've given us kind of the bullet points on that, but I think it may be helpful as well too to give us kind of a day-to-day experience about how this is going to make it easier on our inspectors and staff and others, that these folks are going to have instant feedback in terms of their ability to access where a plan stands in terms of the process of review and for planning purposes as well for our staff as well as theirs.
Right. Everything within Trackit is integrated into the GIS modules, so any department can look and get the most current information on any project. If a developer or anybody now calls and asks about the status of their project, usually we have to get up and go around and find out who's got it, who's reviewed it, who hasn't. With this new software, everything being integrated, we'll be able to just look on our screen and see where it is in the process, who's signed off and who hasn't, what's left in the process, and approximately how much time it may take to finish the review of whatever. Or like I said earlier, the client can also, if they have a login to the system, they can log in and check it themselves. So that's a big benefit. We're not wasting time walking around trying to get people updates on their projects, because time is money and the activity level is very high and people want to know what's going on with the projects. So that's one of the big benefits. Let's see, what are the others? Kelly, I don't know if you got any plan and zoning. There's some benefits to that as well.
From our end, when we looked at the demonstration, Trackit has been here several times, and I've interfaced with them on the phone as well, going over the benefits with our boards and commissions. As you know, we staff 3 boards and commissions: the Board of Architectural Review, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Zoning Appeals. And all of those agendas would be put onto this system. Our clients, our customers would be able to, anyone in the field that saw one of our signs would be able to log into this system, see everything with the project. We wouldn't have to email large PDFs. It's all right there, real time. And also those cases would be linked to permits and code cases, any violations would all come up. It basically red flags everything in the system. So if we have an active, like let's say downtown Board of Architectural Review case going on, and they come in for plan review, the system would automatically let everyone know where it was in that process and that we weren't finished with it yet. Their permits wouldn't be issued without that review and approval. It basically is a fully integrated system for our boards and commissions and allows not only the public to log in and see what's going on with all of those, but for us to track all those cases from the start to the finish, not just of starting at the Planning Commission, but also throughout the project when we do preliminary plats, final plats, and all of those types of things. Seems to be a really fast-paced and good way to keep track of all of our information.
Thank you all. Council, on the recommendation of staff, I'll entertain a motion to receive the land management software bid.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for further discussion or questions.
Steve, on the, I've see here that the City of Greenville, they're one of the users of this tracking, and I've had a little bit of, I've used it, and it makes things simple.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way they went about it, or what you, if you have a project and you submit it, either coming from the architect or you as the contractor submitting it, it's all electronic. So does the, so you on city's end, our end, we won't have any hard copies, or will we be printing hard copies for plans, or how is that going to?
The actual minutia detail, if we're going to have a hard copy, right now I would say we would have a hard copy in the office as well as the electronic submittal, but we won't know the minutia of that detail until we get into the implementation with Track It, and they start helping us set it up for our operation.
Are they the only company that bid on this?
No, sir. We, like David said, I don't know, they interviewed 3 separate companies. We did the same. We had 3 separate companies come in and do presentations, and Track It was the clear best of the 3, we thought.
I didn't ask David this, but usually whenever I would buy managerial software of significant value, I wanted to see it used in the real world. I would go somewhere that was already a customer and see it. Did you do this?
We haven't actually physically gone, but we've contacted Lexington County, who uses it. Ruthie knows all the building officials at Lexington County and also the City of Greenville. We talked to them and to find out how they'd like using it, and we got positive answers. They were all very, very positive answers.
You'll still be able to deal with small contractors that aren't technically savvy, won't you?
Absolutely, sure. I mean, we can still take the walk-ins, but the primary benefit is just going to be the volume. The volume that comes in will just help us handle it more, so we can actually spend more time with the small guy if we need to. And we're not, like I said, walking around trying to figure out where something is in the office. We'll have it all on one screen, and we can just pull it up.
So we are going to be. City of Greenville, I know they put out a notice that the only way they're going to receive applications is electronically. So, I mean, even if it's just something where all they were going to need is a sketch, you have to make that sketch, scan it, and create PDF, send all that with.
We haven't got to that point of making that decision yet. I guess that will be during the implementation process as we get, recommendations from Track It on how we should set it up. So that would be to be determined.
I think it's an interesting point, and one well worth noting that we probably do have some folks that still don't operate in this realm entirely. So I'd like to see us to continue that. But on the other end of the dial, one of the things that I've run into in the past year and have urged staff to move forward on this is we have more and more companies that are headquartered out of this area. So if you've got somebody in Raleigh or Charlotte or Atlanta or Texas or wherever that are submitting multiple plans, doing different kinds of things, and are trying to coordinate that from their home office through a regional office and then a local office. This is going to give us the ability to streamline that process incredibly. And also for our local architects and others that are submitting plans, this is the #1 thing that they ask for when I meet with them. And so I think it's imperative that we move forward with it. Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the first reading of ordinance number 44-2017, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of properties owned by South Carolina Ports Authority located at 606, 608, 612, 700, 706, 708, 710, 712 Moore Street Extension, 411 East Avenue, 956, and 1120 East Poinsett Street, and 391, 367, 369, 363, 380 Dobson Shed Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of I-1 for said property. Ms. McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor Danner, members of council. As you're all aware, the inland port is booming with success, and as such, they would like to expand their operations, and some of those properties include those that are currently in Spartanburg County that they would like to annex into the city of Greer. The subject properties are currently vacant or occupied by single-family residences, and they are asking to have those brought into the city limits with the zoning of I-1 industrial to expand their port operations in the very near future.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Let the record reflect that nobody indicated so. Entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Floor is open for discussion or questions. Comments?
So the Port Authority already owns these properties?
That is correct. They have provided us with deeds, and we have verified and done all the proper title work. They are in ownership of all of these parcels. Yes, sir.
And they will be required to install proper screening?
If they buffer adjacent to a residentially zoned piece of property, they will have to buffer and screen. You may be referring to those on Dobson Shed Road. There are some residences there, but they are owned by the Port Authority, and those will also be zoned industrial, as the residents there know that eventually they'll be either leaving or selling their homes to the port. They're currently under the port ownership already, so there will not be any required screening, but the port certainly wants to be a good neighbor to the residents that they still have occupying those homes.
This does also include the properties on Moore Street that already include the screening that was installed when we reconfigured Moore Street. This is the annexation of the remaining properties that were not already in the city limits. Those portions and those that were prior, those properties are being conveyed to the city. Again, that's where those screening buffer zones are. There on Moore Street, portion and Moore Street itself being conveyed to the city. So this is cleaning up that area from the actual operations of the inland port up to the last property that they purchased when they originally started acquiring those along Moore Street.
I guess I'm just, and I know the Port Authority and the railroad are two different entities, but I'm still a little gun shy about that, because, you know, we were told one thing, the residents were told one thing about screening, and got quite a different actuality. So
there is no additional screening plan other than that is installed at this time along Moore Street. That property will convert from maintenance of the inland port and be maintained by the city of Greer, because that property is being conveyed to us.
But for what is being annexed in here, if it does but to a residential property, something that's zoned residential, multifamily, that requires screening, correct?
It would require screening, but again, just so that there's no confusion, those portions that are being annexed are those that have already been modified or improved, and any screening that was to be installed has been installed. There would be no additional installation of buffer or screening in this location.
What advantage is there for them to annex this?
We required it from the very beginning, is that all property under the umbrella of the South Carolina Ports Authority would be annexed into the city of Greer.
So we're taking on the maintenance of the nearest properties, in essence.
Which is what we agreed to 4 years ago when they brought the project to us. We're annexing now the remaining portions that were not in the city at that time. They purchased existing property that was already in the city. These are the portions that they purchased that were not in the city. We did not agree to accept those properties along Moore Street until all property relative to the operation of the port was brought into the city. We weren't going to accept some and not all. This allowed us to get the remaining portions of the actual port operations.
Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Item D is the first reading of ordinance number 45-2017. I believe Ms. McCormick has information in that regard.
Yes, sir. The applicant has requested that council remove this item from consideration.
At the request of the applicant, I'll entertain a motion that this item be removed from consideration.
So motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion in that regard? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading of ordinance number 46-2017, an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Ms. Garcia Romez located at 600 Hampton Road from RM to C3. Ms. McCormick?
Thank you, Mayor Danner. The purpose of this rezoning is to allow for commercial vehicles to be parked on this parcel. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on November 20th, and we heard from the applicants at that meeting that they are currently residing in the residence in front of this home, which is 600 Hampton Road, and that they have subdivided this parcel and that the rear will be used to park their vehicles that they use for their commercial business. There are 2 dump trucks. We have made it explicitly clear that C3 zoning does not allow for lay-down yard of dump truck carried type materials such as rock, debris from construction sites and the like. This is simply parking for vehicles that they use for their personal business when they leave for the day and they come back in the evening.
Entertain a motion to receive.
No motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I didn't ask enthusiastic.
That was a reluctant.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or a representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Let the record indicated nobody signified so. I have a motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion or questions.
How close is this back up to residential?
It's directly adjacent to residentially zoned property to the adjacent east. There's new apartments that are developed there, right behind Nissan of Greer. This is directly adjacent to those properties. They have started to install a buffer and screening in advance. They own the property. They're certainly allowed to put a fence up, but they are not using it currently for commercial use, but it is directly adjacent to those apartment homes.
So they'll have to do some buffering, screening, that sort of stuff?
They will, yes, sir.
Is C3 the only zoning that will allow them to park a commercial vehicle there? Or does it have to be C3?
If we chose another commercial zoning, C2 is more of your highway commercial. We'd be looking at Wade Hampton type activity level zoning, and C1 wouldn't be appropriate. C3 is the only option. It's the least harmful option to residential, because if we chose an S1 zoning, for example, that would allow for them to full on do a dump truck operation there, and we don't.
The lease would be to turn it down. That'd be the lease.
I'm a little confused. I thought C3 was highway commercial, and C2 was backing off of C3. And so, am I
You're
Because
correct.
C3 does not,
You're correct, I misspoke. C2 zoning would be less intense than C3 at this location. All of the zoning in this area, in the surrounding area, Nissan of Greer, the parking lot that's directly across Hampton Road, that is used for overflow parking for Nissan, is directly across its Zone C3. Property to the rear of this site, if you continue down Hampton, is Zone C3. It's currently undeveloped, but all of the zoning in that general area is designed for C3. C2 does not allow for commercial parking lots that would be of this intensity for dump truck style parking. Of course, it allows for commercial businesses, but when you look at the intensity required for a dump truck, that was where the C3 zoning came into play.
There's no other place that they can park the vehicles?
They have them, they're leasing space now is what I understand, but Mrs. Garcia has leased a home that she also owns in the front portion of that to this business owner. He's residing in that residence and started out wanting to do this as a home occupation. Staff advised that was not
Problems
allowed.
gonna come when they find out what's going on, and then when you start bringing them dump trucks in, they know them dump trucks are gonna be there on a regular basis. That's when we're gonna get the complaints, and neighbors and that's gonna start going off then.
well, this property, this is either the second or third time it's come for rezoning, because the way that the property is now, that front parcel that fronts Hampton, at one time was an electrical contractor's office, and they had requested it go to C2 from RM1, and that was turned down. And I don't know if there's been another request since that or not, but I do know that the residents down there, when that parcel of land that Nissan's using for their overflow parking, that mainly was going to be used for the stormwater detention. And then the residents got pretty fired up when it was started, but I think it was zoned the way it was zoned.
For the car dealership.
That's the area. Is that what it is?
Others? The parcel that's right next to it, it looks like that's multifamily. Are those duplexes in there?
They seem to be like a townhouse style multifamily. They're brand new. They're really nice.
Yeah,
The ones
they're nice.
on Hampton, yeah, they're apartments.
And then between there and basically the, looks like Lorla Street, which is right up, it runs right beside of Walmart. Those are all single family.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Is there anything else on, I don't think there's anything else on Delagrave, is there?
There's a huge vacant lot that's back behind this. There's
That
a,
used to be a chemical plant, and it burned many years ago, so I don't know if that site is contaminated or not.
the trees are cleaning it up.
That's right.
Questions or comments?
Well, I believe the overflow lot is what really destroyed this neighborhood. I mean, that's been done. We really need to decide if we want to keep it what's there residential or allow further commercial invasion. Yeah?
Well, I think there's a big difference between those cars being overflowed and them dump trucks coming in and out there. They ain't said nothing now, but once them dump trucks start rolling, you best believe they're gonna be in here.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be in here.
How many dump trucks do they plan to park there? Do you know what type of capacity this gives them?
They currently own 2, it's my understanding. However, when you zone it to C3, it allows every C3 business in, they could expand and put more dump trucks as long as they met our stormwater regulations for impervious surface.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Riley. I'm torn because you have the overflow parking that's literally right across the street, and then I know that we've always said that with multifamily you have transitional zoning, so it kind of makes sense from that perspective. But if you kind of want to keep the vibe that this is more of a neighborhood, that house is kind of isolated between those 2 parcels, between the multifamily and then the overflow lot. So I can.
Not too isolated.
What's that?
I said, I don't know about too isolated.
Well, you have the single family on the other side of the, what do we call them, the townhouses or the?
It's where somebody lives, and then there's a difference between those overflows, and if people ain't bothered by that, because those aren't moving all the time. But you start bringing them dump trucks in there, and they got two now, and you ain't gonna stop them, from bringing more in.
Where is the office part of this business?
They, in the residence.
In that house on the front part?
Yes, sir.
And
It's a
it's
home
zoned-
occupation. They have their business office in that home.
It was on for that electrical place at first.
Wasn't allowed to, that was non-conforming because it was zoned residential. And when they ceased operation of that electrical business, over time, they lost their non-conforming status, which is why they originally wanted to zone the house C3 as well, but when he wanted to live there, can't live in a C3, so he had to split the property.
So this is two separate parcels now.
They have been subdivided, yes, sir.
Just for this purpose, or is it pending approval for this?
They went through with the subdivision for this purpose, however. So they would have a designation of not split zoning a portion of the property. We required them to subdivide it in order to apply for the zoning of the back portion of the property. They could have applied for C3 on the entire lot, but they are already living in the home. We wouldn't want to change the zoning and create a nonconformity in that regard.
So it's not a business, they're just wanting to park their business cars behind their house.
Correct. But those types of trucks are not allowed in residential zones. Can't have commercial vehicles. There's a whole list, A through maybe D or E, of what type of commercial vehicles you cannot park in residentially zoned areas in the city. And those dump trucks certainly meet that.
This kind of reminds me of the setup that Dr. Flush has that's right behind the clock. This seems very similar to that in that you have the restaurant that's right out on Poinsett, and then directly behind there you have their facility where all the trucks are parked, and then you have houses that are around there. But I don't ever remember receiving any complaints about their business. And
Well, that has existed for a long time, and I think and it goes back to what Riley was just saying. Are we going to say, okay, let's rezone this to C3, and then maybe something else on this undeveloped property there on the rest of Delagrade comes in that's not residential, we're going to allow that to come on. Mm-hmm. Where you're referring to, it's it's been there. It wasn't added, but
We've actually got I-1 across the street, so might be a new location for a tattoo parlor there on I-1.
do what?
Isn't that industrial across the street where the sign company is?
Oh, okay.
Other questions, comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
No.
Mr. Griffin,
No.
Ms. Booker,
No.
Mr. Dumas,
no.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Ms. Albert,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No. Takes a supermajority to override, and it's been overridden. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, we have one item in executive session. I'll entertain a motion in that regard.
So moved. Second.
We got about three.
Mr. Bettis, we need you to
Read that thing.
make the motion, please, sir.
I can do that.
You know you got a new job.
I'll make a motion we go into executive session to discuss matters relating to the proposed location and the provision of services encouraging location of Project Inland 85 as allowed by state statute section 30-4-7A5.
Now I'll entertain a motion to receive.
Second.
And a second. We good to go, Ms. Duncan?
Yes.
Floor is yours. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we considered an economic development project identified as Project Inland 85. We've taken no action in that regard. Do I hear a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Bettis, you want to identify the second, please? Second.
Second?
I think he beat you to it.
No?
Ms. Duncan, who do you have as the motion?
I think it was yours. I have Councilman Griffin with the first.
Councilman Griffin made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Now we have a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we had two items of old business before us this evening. We had the second and final reading of ordinance number 27-2017 and the second and final reading of ordinance number 32-2017. In that regard, any action to be taken this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that both ordinance number 27-2017 and ordinance number 32-2017 be held over until our next meeting.
Have a motion to consider both of those ordinances that would be held over. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second that both ordinances, ordinance number 27-2017 and ordinance number 32-17, be held over for discussion until our next meeting. Do I hear, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Floor is open for discussion. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, yes, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council having no further stated business, we are adjourned.